Fantastic job, Ms. Thompson. Absolutely amazing. I have a couple of questions for you. So I know you did a few interviews with people who spend their lives working with cetaceans. You didn't put them, they were in your paper, but you didn't even have a chance to talk about them in your slideshow, and they were such interesting interviews. What is your takeaway from those people? What have you learned?
Well, I interviewed many people, including Dean Bernal, and I found that a lot of people have different opinions about captivity. There are some people who think that all types of captivity is bad, but when rescuing and rehabilitating animals is a way to save them, but it might involve putting them in captivity, it's a beneficial part of captivity for sure.
Great. You also mentioned a lot about their passion, is to work, to spend your life wanting to better the cause of dolphins is a pretty noble life. Another question I have, this is a new one for you. I used to go to the aquarium with my family, and I even remember when I think Nala was born, and we always felt a connection to them. It made me more aware of their situation in the world. It made me aware of how the environment affected their well-being. And I really think it made me want to protect them. Do you think there is value in this, in keeping whales in captivity for the purposes of educating the public to better cetaceans in the world?
Definitely, because there are a lot of dolphins and whales in the wild that are endangered, and if people are starting to feel a connection with whales and want to help preserve that, then that's definitely an upside to captivity.
Excellent, thanks.
Okay. Well done. Very well
Thank
done. Full disclosure, my name's Heisey, and I'm a research associate with the Vancouver Aquarium. But I actually began as a researcher on dolphins in the wild. And the very first time I went to the aquarium, I was told, oh, it's an amazing facility, and I cried. I couldn't believe it. That was when the killer whales were in a much smaller area, and it just was heartbreaking. I have come a long way in 30 years, and so I do work on animals in the wild, but as well as animals in captivity. And so when the Parks Board makes a decision about not bringing any more animals into the aquarium, even as rescues, I have concern about the welfare of the animals that are there currently, but as well, what do we do now? Who makes the decision and who does the work if there is another Chester or Levi who washes ashore?
I think the best solution for this, Pam and I talked about this. This is an unlikely situation, but the Vancouver Aquarium could possibly move so they could take in rescues. Or I had this idea that because cetaceans being released back into the wild, they sometimes have to go through ocean pens, that we could potentially build one in Vancouver so that the animals are, like take Helen for example, she's a very social dolphin, that she could still be social and in the ocean where they belong, and they're not in tanks, but we can still keep an eye on them, because if they have medical conditions and they can't be released into the wild, they still are technically in the wild, but we can still monitor them.
Yeah, I'll just let you know that often, and this is for the benefit of the public, animals that strand or have to go through intense medical intervention often are deafened. And Chester, for example, is extremely hearing impaired, and Helen is completely deaf in one ear. So there's no way you could ever put that animal safely back in the wild. And then my other question would be, animals like Helen that are so social, with this new decision, we can't bring any more animals into the park. How would, if you were the chairman of the board of the aquarium, what do you think is the best thing for the mental, social health of Helen or Chester or?
I believe Helen needs to be with more dolphins. So if I'm not sure if there are dolphins of her species in captivity elsewhere, but a good idea would be to put her with those dolphins so that she could still be social with her same species.
Good job. Thanks.
Ms. Thompson, oh boy. Can you clarify for me with the Dean and JoJo story? Is Jojo a wild dolphin?
Yeah, Jojo is a wild bottlenose dolphin, and he was once in captivity, but he was released. And so because he's had extensive contact with humans, he tends to like to be around humans as much as possible. So he goes up to beaches and plays with little kids and dogs sometimes. But he's still wild, so it's good.
And so when you say that Jojo has a relationship with Dean, does he particularly seek out Dean?
He does, in fact. He is a strange dolphin, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
Okay, grade 9s.
Uh-oh.
So, good job. You say don't buy a ticket, even though I saw those pictures of you at the dolphin shows. What do you have to say about that?
Well, Drake, or Mr. Nickel, that was before I went into depth about why dolphins were in captivity and how they get there and how they're treated. So I used to love dolphins, and I still do very much. I just don't want them in the same area.
Very well done, Miss Thompson. Okay, sorry. I was just wondering, we usually go straight to like the big fish, like orcas and dolphins, but we don't really touch on like the other smaller fish in tanks. And I was just wondering, do you think it's okay that they're in captivity, but not that and it's not okay that dolphins are?
Are you talking about like fish or fish? Yeah. Well, that is a good question, Lucia. I believe that, yeah, fish are in captivity and people have them in aquariums at their homes. They're not exactly captured humanely, and they are diminishing in numbers in the wild. So potentially having them in captivity, if they have a diminishing wild population, may be beneficial to them.
Yeah. Do you think it's also because dolphins, because they're intellectually smarter, that's why we have more compassion for them, because it's like fish probably don't even realize, or maybe they do, but because they do have this brain capacity.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's definitely a connection because we feel like we're kind of on the same page if we spoke dolphin, I guess.
Great job. I was just wondering, what's your thoughts on zoos? Because I guess zoos are kind of like the other side of aquariums. So what do you think about like animals being in captivity?
Yeah, I'm kind of against that as well. I'm kind of negative here. Yeah, there's roadside zoos all over the place, and not whales on roads, no. Bears and other animals are kept in zoos, in cages, and brutal conditions, and they're starved because people don't visit those zoos, so the animals don't get food. So that's kind of why Marineland has been charged with animal cruelty, because they haven't been feeding their animals.
Nice presentation, Mrs. Thompson. And I was just a little curious, you talked about both swimming with dolphins in captivity and dolphins in the wild. And you also mentioned don't buy a ticket. Are you talking about specifically dolphins that are captive or both?
To captive dolphins, yeah, because wild dolphins, they have the energy to swim away from you if you're in the wild and you decide, hey, let's go swim with dolphins. But sometimes, because they're very curious animals, they'll stick around and kind of circle around you. So if they do, then they're obviously interested in you. In captivity, they're kind of forced to hang around you. Yeah.
So it gives you the option to make the choice. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Good job, Mrs. Thompson. I was just wondering, in your opinion, would you say it's better to have like a dolphin taken from the wild and kept in captivity, or born in captivity and stayed in captivity?
Well, if animals are born in captivity, there is no way that you can release them back into the wild. What was the other part of your question?
If they were taken from the wild into captivity?
Well, dolphins and marine mammals are often taken from the wild for entertainment really harshly. As I talked about in the Bud Inlet killer whale capture, they were using explosives to herd and net the whales. Born in captivity, I'm kind of against both of it, but it's more humane if they're born in captivity to be in captivity, but they can never be released.
Good job, Miss Thompson, not Mrs. Well, my question is, I guess, would you consider a job related to this topic?
For sure. I mean, I always grew up wanting to be a dolphin trainer, but now I'm against that. So, yeah, maybe a conservationist or a marine biologist, because when my family goes to the beach, they swim. What do? Well, I go investigate tide pools. I'm kind of a nerd.
3 fast questions. What sort of sea animals are in the dolphin family?
Are seals in the dolphin family?
No, but like what kind of sea animals?
Oh, well, in the dolphin family, there are bottlenose dolphins, Atlantic spotted dolphins, Pacific white-sided dolphins, there are spinner dolphins. There are lots of dolphins. Orcas are also in the dolphin family.
Right. And how many teeth do orcas have?
I know this! Actually, dolphins have 100 teeth.
Yeah. But orcas. But if they're in the dolphin family, do they also have 100 teeth?
Well, Leela, orcas are in the dolphin family, so my guess is that they probably have 100 teeth as well.
And how do you tell a gender of a dolphin?
Usually you can look on the underside of a whale. Oh, and their fins. If they're an orca, the males have bigger fins and the females have smaller fins. Oh, hi, Hunter.
Good job, Miss Thompson. Are narwhals part of the whale family?
Why? Yeah, I think so.
Unicorns part of the whale family?
Well, Hunter, I don't really study narwhals because they're in the Arctic and I'm in Canada, so.
Good
Yeah,
job,
okay.
Miss Thompson. I have a question. Why are you so interested in wild dolphins?
Well, I've kind of grown up around dolphins. I've always been fascinated with dolphins because they're so smart and they're very interesting animals. They've got a lot of secrets. They have like their own language. They communicate with other dolphins, so I find that very interesting. Hi, Mom.
Ms. Thompson, my question is closer to home. In the last several years, there's been a lot of killer whale sightings around Bowen Island and Howe Sound, where I've lived here for 26 years, and that was not always the case. So are these killer whales now Bowen Islanders? Are they residents?
Actually, these are transient whales, and for those of you who don't know, transients are the ones that eat seals, and residents are the ones that eat fish. So the transients are drawn to the seal population we have, which has increased in Vancouver, so they're coming to eat the seals.
Have fun kayaking.
Oh, yeah.
Good job, Ms. Thompson. You don't know what my question is, so here it is.
Oh, he forgot it.
No. What does the public do if they're seeing dolphins or whales being harassed? Who do they call?
There's a helpline or a wildlife conservation line, I believe, that you can call, or you can call the Vancouver Aquarium, and they will get in touch with people who can come and rescue them.
So you don't call the Coast Guard?
Probably not. I mean, they're not sinking.
Wonderful presentation, Ms. Thompson. As you know, I'm a history teacher, and throughout history, whales have been hunted extensively, especially on this coast. And there's a long, long history of the use of whales industrially. Why did that change? I mean, that's now not a common thing. What do you think led to this move away from using whales for industry or as a tool?
Well, Adrian, I believe I explained to you the uses of whale oil in my humanities exam.
You did.
But I will gladly explain again. Now there is electricity around, so whale oil is no longer needed for lamps. So yeah,
Do you
turn
think
on
it's
lights.
purely that we have other ways to fill that niche, or do you think there's also something going on with people's relationship with whales?
I think it's mostly because we have electricity now and other ways to use it, and whale oil was harder to come by because you had to go out there and actually get the whale and then get the whale oil. It was pretty gruesome. Yeah, so it's definitely easier now that we have electricity.
Fantastic and informative project, Ms. Thompson. My question is, you mentioned two other types of captivity. There was, in addition to entertainment and, there was rehabilitation and there was military. Where do you stand morally on those two types of captivity?
I was really surprised to come by military captivity because I did not expect people to be using dolphins to locate underwater mines and stuff. Did you say rehabilitation? Yeah, so animals like Chester, they rescue them and they take them into captivity, and sometimes they're deemed unreleasable, or they can make sure they're healthy again and release them back into the wild. So I'm definitely more in favor of rescues. Yeah.
I know there's such thing called river dolphins. Do people also capture river dolphins? Okay, so there's something called river dolphins. Our people also want to capture river dolphins and make them do shows and stuff.
River dolphins are not pretty enough to be in captivity, so normally people don't capture them. I don't believe there are any river dolphins in captivity right now, mostly because bottlenose are considered prettier, so they make more money for people. River dolphins, I don't think there's much information about them because no one has actually gone and put them into tanks. Yeah.
Congratulations, Ms. Thompson. I'm particularly impressed that you've decided to wade into something so controversial. It takes a lot of moral fortitude and wisdom and courage and integrity to stand here and answer some very tricky questions. I know that you've been doing a lot of work with other animal stewardship as well over the year. Are there a couple of organizations, if we wanted to get involved, that you would recommend that you think are doing good work for dolphins or other animals that you're interested in?
Locally, if you wanted to volunteer, I know you can work at the Vancouver Aquarium. My mom used to, fun fact. The Dolphin Project is pretty great. They go worldwide and volunteer. That's a great opportunity. Yeah. So Vancouver Aquarium if you wanted to go locally.
Very well done, Ms. Thompson. So I know Lucia briefly touched on this with fish, but what about seals and other types of that marine life in captivity? What are your views on that?
Thank you. Seals and sea lions are often in captivity, sometimes for research. I know the Vancouver Aquarium takes in a lot of them and they rehabilitate them and they are put back into the wild and seen doing very well. I don't really think any animal should be in captivity, but we are also learning a lot from them that they are in captivity. We're learning more about how they see, how they hunt, how they locate other animals, how they talk to other animals. So it's beneficial.
I have another question. I think what Adrian was maybe touching on was that is there a change in awareness from back in the days when there was massive whale slaughter? A lot of countries have banned killing of cetaceans. So I guess the question is, do you have hope that we're being more humankind, that as a species we're learning to be better to animals, or do you think we still have a long way to go?
I still think we we have a long way to go. I mean, the people in Japan, it's going on locally that they don't know dolphins are being killed and taken for places around the world. So I think if we could raise awareness, a lot more people would be involved, and captivity would no longer be for entertainment or military or other situations.
Ms. Thompson, you've done a great job of answering all these questions, and they produce a lot of emotional response in people, so it's really interesting to see all the opinions coming out. So we're going to take a short break in a minute after we give her all this applause, and we'll be back at 5:02. Well done.